nothing. He could just raise his, weapon right into Kylo's gut or something, or in between his legs, chop off his nads. Kylo is dead. Yet both of them seem to have forgotten that they're holding weapons. But the interesting thing here is that the Imperial Guard actually has some bit of an excuse because he was just elbowed in the face. So he's wearing a helmet that should protect someone. But okay, say that was a mega strong elbow to the face that is stunned and is like, oh, dazed, and is out of the combat for just a few seconds. But Kylo here, he's all good in fighting form and is not using his weapon. He's just holding it to the side and now is deciding to throw this Imperial Guard. Oh, now he's going to use his lightsaber. No, he doesn't. He's going to kick the other guy. He's just holding his lightsaber, doing nothing, and he decides to kick this Imperial Guard who has a weapon raised about to come down. I mean, at the very least, you'd want to raise your lightsaber to block it instead of kick. So in both cases, either of these Imperial Guards could have been killed by Kylo if he just decided to use his lightsaber instead of holding off to the side, decided to punch and kick these Imperial Guards instead of actually hit them. Look, the lightsaber is nearly touching the Imperial Guard. Just run him through. But he's not doing anything with, no, I won't kill these guys that are trying to kill me. My lightsaber is nearly touching them, like just a few centimeters distance. And instead, I'm going to throw him forward and not use my weapon. Come off it. Holy crap. If you're not picking up already, this fight scene is trash. It's absolute garbage. And we've just begun, okay, right? So now we're seeing Rey, right? See, okay, and two guys attacking Rey. Let's watch what happens. Okay, here's another awful exchange. And, if you're not paying attention, it looks nice. There's a lot of movement happening, but from a competitive standpoint, it's just atrocious. Again, these Rey's not trained, but she's taking on Imperial Guard, and Kylo is supposed to be trained. They're not using any fight stances at all right, like combative swordsmanship
I've always
stances
hated
where your
it how
sword
they
is
just
in a position to
swing
guard,
their swords as
attack,
baseball
be
bats
ready.
instead of an
It's just
actual
the
sword.
Imperial Guard, he swings at Rey, okay? Rey's back is facing him, and he the stuntman purposefully misses. Like, it's so open. Just hit her, but purposefully missing right overhead. Oh, it's horrible. And then he spins around back towards Rey, invites Rey in to strike him. Instead of putting up a guard position, he turns to Rey, raises his arm and says, here you go, free hit. I mean, he's not even trying to attack Rey. He's just basically raising his arm and his body. Just hit me. This is suicide. Go on, Rey. Here you go. Right in the chest. And bang, that's kind of supposedly kills him. Whip wraps around Rey's lightsaber. Now, okay, her lightsaber is grabbed by this weapon, and Rey is holding it vertical in front of herself, and she's getting pulled in. If something is wrapped around a weapon, do you know how you can pull it free? Just extend your weapon, point it forward, and pull it out of whatever loop it's being held in. By holding it vertical in front of yourself like that, you are allowing your opponent to pull yourself in. Just stretch it out horizontal. Let it slide off the end. But no, she lets herself get pulled in. She she doesn't even straighten her sword. The hilarious thing about this section right here, if she extended her lightsaber forward into a horizontal forward strike, horizontal position, she would knock this guy in the head. He can't block with this weapon whip thing, especially with it being wrapped around a lightsaber. Just extend your weapon. Hit him. But no, she's like, oh no, I'm getting pulled in. I can't do anything. There's so much you could do in this position. I can't stand the stupidity. And even here, it's not like he's forcing her to hold the lightsaber in that position. Just tilt it forward a bit. Just a little bit. Tap him in the head. There's nothing he can do to stop you. Oh, that's stupid. It hurts my brain. And all through here, she could, again, just tilt her lightsaber forward, hit him in the head. I mean, it just continues. Okay, so what does she do here? She does instead of just doing the easy thing, she slips in underneath. Now, if you were wondering, she was able to slide her lightsaber out of being looped in that weird electric whip thing, well, that's what she does right here. She clearly pulls her lightsaber free, right? and strikes the guy right up the back, right through his arm. Look, wow, that armor is not doing much. And, yeah, is dead. So, I mean, this should set the precedent that the armor is pretty useless, but all right. And then she throws the whippy thing away, which slides off her lightsaber. So what she's doing here isn't a guard position, okay? She's just holding it off to the side, mildly raised. Now, I had presumed that that guy was dead, okay? I'm assuming it's the guy that was hit in the side of the chest by Rey before, but perhaps the armor saved him and they're thinking, no, he's not dead, so he can still fight. And this is where he splits his staff into the infamous double dagger thingies. And then he decides to wave his daggers around in the most dumb way ever. It's really, really dumb. See, I'm not sure if any of you caught that, but I caught exactly the movement he was doing because I'm aware of that movement, and it's really dumb and useless. And look, maybe he's trying to intimidate your opponent, but it doesn't look fancy, especially with daggers. With swords, maybe, not with daggers. See, I think this is what he was trying to do. And with swords, this type of flourish can look all right, but with two little daggers and the way he does it, let's pay attention. We're going slow motion now. He just kind of swings it up around, and that's it. It doesn't look good with daggers. So Rey does a little flourish there. Not like, to the untrained eye, I guess that can look all right, but for someone who actually does do a little bit of sword flourishing, it's really basic stuff. See, she just swings her sword to one side, down around there, and then back up. And it wasn't even a full loop. At least in the fight scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin, they actually did some proper flourishing, okay? Not this pathetic attempt at one. These are the type of sword flourishes you want to do that actually look somewhat competent. And I actually consider myself only average with sword flourishing, and the flourishing that I'm showing here is only mid-level. I mean, it's above basic,
I've always wanted to do sword flourishing, but I'm not, like, I'm not that great.
Finding someone leaning into both Rey and the Imperial Guard. See how they're leaning in with their shoulder. Their shoulder is basically an open kind of description of this is how I'm going to strike. I'm setting my attack. They're just leaning in, big baseball bat swing from Rey, and the guy with the daggers. I mean, he's got two daggers, right? See how he strikes with one and he lets his dagger hit Rey? What is he doing with that other dagger? I mean, if he just pokes his other dagger forward, he'd strike her right in the stomach. But he decides his other dagger doesn't exist, which interestingly kind of happens a bit later on in a more literal sense. Pay attention, you're going to see something atrocious if it hasn't been pointed out to you already. Now we cut to Kylo and his weapon is locked. This is again a pet peeve, okay? The thing when two weapons hit each other in movies and Hollywood fight scenes and then they just hold them on each other. And this is what is called being in the bind. Kylo's lightsaber is in the bind with this glaive polearm weapon thing that the Imperial Guard is doing. Now, when you get in the bind, there are so many things you can do because you get to feel the pressure your opponent is putting on the weapon and you can manipulate their weapon into a position that you want. And so if Kylo just stepped to his left a little bit and extended his lightsaber, he would strike the Imperial Guard in the head. So instead of taking advantage of being in the bind with his opponent, he pushes his opponent's blade down to, I mean, look, credit here to block an incoming strike. So maybe he was a bit too worried about this attack coming in, and so he's like, no, I'll block. And now both opponents' weapons are in the bind, and it's hard to see exactly how their weapons are being locked against each other if it's preventing either of them striking at Kylo from the bind. But we also see the advantage of cross guards here, because the only thing preventing the two Imperial Guards' weapons from actually moving further down and hitting Kylo's hands here is that beautiful crossguard, the thing that I've pointed out lightsabers have needed for a long time. Yet still, they don't need to keep the pressure. If one simply steps back, withdraws his blade, and thrusts again, and Kylo's weapon is still locked away with one of the other opponents, they'd be able to hit him. But instead, they keep pushing as hard as they can, and Kylo has to hold them off, and then he gets pushed back as well, a little bit off balance. So what does he do? Well, he pushes back, of course, and throws them off, and then he comes in with a big strike through this guy's torso. The armor, interestingly, not doing much to prevent the lightsaber from penetrating. The guy Kylo strikes.
Honestly, that was a good spin.
And I'm interested in what
he kept the momentum of his actions going instead of
his blade is knocked back. in a
That was a
fairly
good spin.
huge manner.
That's how you
to
do
the
a
point
spin
where
kick.
he's completely disarmed from